Hey guys, it's me, Jess. I wanted to tell you a story today. Actually, if I'm being totally honest, I told the story to the camera for about 10 minutes, but wasn't recording the whole time. So if I seem parched or out of breath or overly excitable at the outset, that is why. So today I wanted to tell you a story about cutting corners or fudging your way through or trying to find a workaround. A few weeks ago, I was in Oklahoma with my BFF, Amy. We were working on Mom Spark production and we were planning to make this video of these muffin tin mini pot pies. So we set aside a day while I was there to test the recipe. We probably spent like 8 to 10, probably closer to 10 hours testing out this recipe before we shot anything because we wanted to make sure it looked well and the recipe worked well and yada, yada, yada. So we finally get done. We've nailed it. We know the times, we know the amounts, we're ready to go. And one of the ingredients was a bag of frozen mixed vegetables. We realized, oh man, we've used most of our filling and there's not a lot of vegetables left, but we don't have any more vegetables. So how could we fudge this? How could we work around? How could we hack our way through it? We spend about 15 or 20 minutes going back and forth. Sometimes it gets heated. We're debating like, what's the best corner to cut and how could we make it look like there's the veggies that need to be there? And almost at the same exact time, we both paused. We both looked at each other. We said, you know what? We should just go buy the bag of veggies. So we spent all this time, we invested all this time going back and forth and talking about, well, what would be the best way to do this so that we don't have to run a 2-minute errand to the grocery store to get another bag of frozen vegetables. Blah, 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 blah. Ever since that experience, Amy and I will have these moments where we're talking about, you know, personal problem solving, professional problem solving, whatever. Whomever's having the problem is kind of like brainstorming. The other one will stop them and say, Jess or Amy, just go buy the bag of veggies. And that's sort of like we've coined this term on how to pause and to just do it the way that you need to do it to get the job done. All that backstory and sort of the explanation of the title of this video to fast forward to now, or at least like a week ago. So I've been on this weird backwards autumn, fall, harvest cleaning instead of spring cleaning. I have been cleaning and purging every room of this house up and down for probably like 2 or 3 weeks. That's everything from like organizing cabinets, buying furniture to store things, you know, cleaning all of my linens, just everything that I could clean or purge or update or organize. I've been doing it. Take a breath. You're very excitable, Jess. Very excitable. Part of this includes my brilliant idea to clean out what has been described in the user manual as a cleanable stand-up canister vacuum. So we've had this vacuum for about 5 years. It's gotten its good share of vacuuming in. So I take this thing apart and a lot of the pieces are plastic, which is awesome because you just dunk those things in a sink full of warm soapy water and let them dry and they're good to go. Now, there are a couple parts, however, that have more porous materials, if you will. The filter specifically. So I take the filter out and I'm like, oh, this is kind of a grimy and dusty and grody and dirty and needs to be cleaned because it's supposed to be like white and sparkly and not dirty. So I take this out and it's this filter that has a paper filter and then this foam ring that goes around the outside. It's like a filter for filter. It's very vacuum meta. I think that if I clean these really well with hot soapy water and let them air dry until they're dry, I shouldn't have any problem. So I go through the process, I clean this out. It's disgusting. I'm like rinsing out like solid, grody water into my sink and I let them air dry. So they're probably air drying, I don't know, a couple hours, and I go to put them back in. I'm like, they're still a little bit damp, but I can't tell if they're gold. I can't tell if they're cold or damp. So I, in my genius, ambitious, excited to be cleaning, purging, organizing brain, I went with they're cold from the air. So I put them back in my vacuum. Now I wait a couple days and I go to vacuum the living room rug. And I plug the vacuum in and I turn it on and I start to vacuum and it smells like hot moldy smell in your nose. Hot moldy smell. Think about that. Hot moldy smell. Moldy smell is bad enough, but heated moldy smell is about 1,000,000 times worse. So I immediately turn the vacuum off, gag, dry heave a little bit, And then I come back, I take apart the pieces. The second I pulled the plastic canister out, boom, it was like I was smacked in the face with the hot, moldy smell. Immediately said,
"Pass, Jess, you were a ding dong. It was not ready. They were not dry, they were not cold, they were still damp."
I'll try to clean them again and I will really let them air dry. Like I will leave them out for a day or two or however long it takes. Warm soapy water again should get rid of the moldy smell. We're good. I clean the filter. I clean the little filter. I set them out and they're almost dry after like 12 or 13 hours. So I say, I'm gonna be smart this time and I'm gonna go get my blow dryer and blow dry them so I know for certain that they're dry before I go and put them back into the vacuum again. Well, I get my blow dryer out, plug it in, hold up the foam filter, and I start to blow dry it and I'm immediately smacked with hot moldy smell. Again, didn't work. Clearly didn't work. Now the ironic part about this is the reason I got this genius idea to start cleaning out my canister vacuum and all of its bits and pieces is because I got a manufacturer email that suggested, hey,
"You've had your vacuum for about 5 years. Might be time to replace some of the parts because they're probably dirty."
And I said to myself,
"That's a great idea, manufacturer, but I have a better idea. I'm gonna clean them myself because this is a cleanable vacuum."
I finished with my hot, moldy mess of an attempt to clean my vacuum, and I said to myself, just buy the bag of veggies. I went onto the manufacturer website, bought the 2 parts that cost $12 total shipped, and I have a new vacuum that doesn't smell like hot mold. So the moral of this story, if there's a moral to be had, is that sometimes I think it's difficult for us to discern whether or not a hack is the right thing. I feel like our culture is very based off of, you look at these viral posts of like life hacks, packing hacks, food hacks, this, that, the other thing, that we sort of becoming wired to like think of oh, that's a cool idea. How can I work around it? Pinterest is kind of a perfect example where, you've seen that meme where it's like, I could buy this for $12, or I could go on Pinterest and find a tutorial and buy the supplies for $92. That's sort of the gist of this, I guess, of me sharing this story with you, is that it's not always the best idea to kind of hack or tweak or fudge your way into something. It's probably a smarter idea just to do it the way you need to do it. Buy the bag of veggies. Tell me if you've ever had an experience like this where you went through way too many steps, way too many ideas, way too many tries of something, when all along you could have easily just done this one thing or bought this one thing and it would have been done. I would love to hear your stories and I hope you're well and I hope you're great and I love you to the moon and back and I will see you guys next time. Okay.